So the next tank that we're going to be setting up in the tank room is the 650 litre Cichlid tank. Now, the tank itself hasn't come drilled with holes, so it can't be on a sumped filtration, which means we're going to have to go with external canisters. So over the last few weeks, before I got to things like the decor, the sand, the background heaters, thank you to Andy at Radical Reef for sending the lights through, I had to start to look into the filtration. Now this is then what started to really bug me. Looking at the volume, the 650 litres on the tank itself, and then taking a look at what is written on the boxes of the external canisters and the canister filters really started to get to me, as it's what's advertised to me and you as customers. And I think we're gonna have a problem here. Now let me explain what the problem is. Now this video isn't aimed at a specific brand. The only reason that this brand is featuring in the video is because it's the filter that I have to hand. In regards to litre per hour turnover, they're probably one of the best on the market. But this is more aimed at all external canisters as a whole and the way they are advertised to us with. Let me explain. So the calculation done on this system was for 1,000 litres of water volume, I would need 40 litres of media. Now, remember on the box, it says that what's being supplied in regards to media can deal with 1,500 litres. Not even close to adequate. So this is the 1,000 litre tropical tank, or was tropical tank before it was shut down to change over to a reef. Now, when I had the sump built for the tank, I had to make sure the compartment that was going to hold the biological filtration was going to hold enough litres to deal with the bioload in the tank. I thought you might want to use that as an example. All right, cheers mate. So just as another example and to put it into perspective, that there is 40 litres of Cirrus-Cyperax, which was originally in the sump itself, and some biohome which was brought over from the previous filter. Again, it's not even close. There is a scientific calculation or a biological calculation that has to be done to ensure that you are filtering your fish tank adequately and also at its absolute optimum. Now, one of the biggest issues that we usually face as fish keepers or long-term fish keepers, the tank may have been running for a number of years, but then we end up going through things like mini cycles and stuff like that. So again, as an example, this is a 240 litre fresh water tank and it's currently running on an FX4, Fluval FX4, which claims to do 1,000 litre system and turnover, I think it's about 1,500 or 2,000 litres per hour. That's an FX4 on a 240 litre and I'm still not 100% happy with, one, even though it's upgraded the amount of biological filtration that's in there and also the effective turnover rate. And then this is when it really started to bug me as I was starting to look at the filtration for the 650 litre Cichlid tank. Now, one, it needs to be over filtered anyway because the stocking level of the Cichlids is going to be about 125% of the water volume, which means I am going to have to over filter. But the biggest problem that started to come into it was what was being provided within the canister filters to deal with the biological filtration and also what is being put on the box for us to read as customers and obviously base what we're going to be doing in the tank and filtration. So as mentioned, there is a biological filtration mathematic calculation that you have to do to ensure that you've got enough biomedia to deal with your fish tank, your turnover and the bioload that's in the system. So the canister filter here itself is saying it can deal with 1,500 litres of tank.
I want the truth!
What comes in that canister is that and that. Now, for me, that is nowhere near enough biological filtration.
You can't handle the truth!
So the biggest thing that you always see with these canister filters now is you have to upgrade them to make them, or to make them as good as they can be and make them even better. What's written on the box you have to take with a pinch of salt. Now, this is probably one for the men. If you actually open up the instruction manual,
what is that?
It's a tiny piece of paper.
hold on. Where's the instruction manual? Found it. So the first thing you get into as soon as you open up the instruction manual and have an actual read is in the manual itself, it explains the head height straight away affects the litre per hour and the flow rate of the filter. So again, to even taking a read at that, it backs up and gives you the information that you need to start to calculate and work out how many of these you need to actually successfully filter this fish tank. Now that also doesn't take into consideration the sponges, and it's fact that these need to be at least 35 ppi to be an effective biological filtration. That's not 35 ppi. Media, again, there is nowhere near enough media inside this filter or supplied with the filter. To be fair, you're going to probably be borderline, even if you removed all the baskets and filled it with media, you're still going to be borderline whether you have enough biological filtration to deal with a tank of this size and also at its full potential when it's fully stocked. Definitely not enough room in here. So on this tank itself, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be running 2 FX6s on the tank because, like I said, it's not been drilled. I'm not going to start drilling holes and installing a sump, even though I would always recommend doing a sumped filtration anyway. But the way I am going to do it is I'm going to run one of the FX6s with nothing but 35 PPI sponges, and the other one I'm going to run pure. I'm going to take out all the baskets, remove the basket, and I'm going to have nothing in there but 0 Cyperax media. So it may seem like a bit of a rant this week, but there was 2 main reasons that I wanted to do this video and get it out there. And number one was I was starting to look into filtration for a customer setup that we've got going this week, and I started to notice that they've got hang on the back filters that are saying that they can deal with a 1,000 litre system. Now that's only 650, and even if you take a look at the tank yourself and you're still starting to get a little bit clued up, you can see that clearly a hang on the back filter would not be able to deal with that system, and especially when it's fully stocked. That's 650 litres, and I wouldn't put a hang on the back filter on that system even if it had only a handful of fish in. A hang on the back filter, I probably wouldn't go any bigger than 100 litres. Number 2 is the whole point of this channel is whether you're new or experienced, I want you to get off to the best steps possible and enjoy the hobby as you move forward. Now again, I know it may be unrealistic, but say a new fish keeper decides to go out and buy a large system to get themselves started, maybe 500, 650 litres to 1,000 litres, and then decide to filter it with what's based on the boxes, they're just going to run into future problems, and especially when they start to get the tank to full capacity. Now if we're going back and we're talking about the calculations, like I said, I had the 40 litres of media to deal with the 1,000 litre. In a nutshell, and there's not an exact calculation, but if you work it around a sort of litre of media per 25 litres of water, it will give you a good solid amount of space for biological filtration and for the beneficial bacteria to grow and develop and harbour. And it's one of them things, and you do see it quite often on the likes of Facebook and social media, where someone's done, say, a substrate changeover, and all of a sudden they're now going through a mini cycle, or they're now going through the nitrogen cycle again. And the reason for that is because the filter in the first place wasn't capable of dealing with the bioload on its own. Now you may be sitting there going, but Ben, I've got, say, an FX6 on a 500 litre system and it's running absolutely fine. And it's probably going to come down to 2 things. One, obviously you've probably got room, or you've not reached your maximum stocking capacity, or second of all, you've got a good enough flow in the system and your hardscape is helping harbour bacteria to keep the tank going. It would be one of them situations where if you were to remove your hardscape or remove your substrate or change it over, you would then run into problems and probably go through a mini cycle. So again, if you look at around a litre of media per 25 litres of water, you will know that your system, your filtration and the biological filtration that you've got in your filter is capable of dealing with your tank and the bioload that it's creating.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Yes.
So guys, that's pretty much it for this week. Like, I'm happy and I'm open to a debate. So if there's anything you want to add or comment or debate with me, stick it in the comments down below. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. If you have gone and just bought, say, an FX6 filter, pretty much a glorified sponge filter, there's a video here and it will tell you how to set it up and how to upgrade it just to make it a little bit better. Again, if you haven't, hit the subscribe button and I'll see you next week.